Watch where I walk. A lot of rattlesnakes around here. Whoa. Ever want to do some ghost hunting in the American Southwest? Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're actually about 30 miles from the U.S.-Mexican border. And from what we understand, there's a few ghost towns out here we want to go check out. First stop we're going to go to is Gleeson, and there's another one I think in Fairbanks. We want to see what they look like and give you guys a good view of a good old American ghost town. So Anna, you ready to do some ghost town hunting today?
Absolutely.
All right, stick around. You don't want to miss out. All right, so we've arrived in Gleeson, Arizona. It's a ghost town, American Southwest. Pretty popular place, probably back in what you would say like 1877. I'll check the dates here in a minute. I got some notes to pass on to you. But we're going to take a poke around and see what this place has to offer, and give you guys a view of a authentic ghost town. You know, it's funny because I remember watching I think it was the Brady Bunch back in the 70s, and they had visited a ghost town and I thought it was really cool, and it's like I wanted to check out, and ever since then I wanted to check out a ghost town. What I didn't know then was the ghost town was actually just a movie set. I mean, come on, I was getting ripped off. I thought it was an authentic ghost town, but it was really just a movie set. So it wasn't an actual ghost town. And ever since, you know, I've been kind of poking around the American Southwest, Nevada, Arizona, looking for like ghost towns that are similar to that. But you'll find that most of these places are just ruins now. You know, maybe a few buildings left over, a couple of closed mines. Still interesting places to visit, but it's nothing like I saw like that was depicted in that show. So, but let's see what else we can find out here. All right, hang around. So this town, Gleeson, was initially settled as an old mining camp back in the late 1800s by a guy named John Gleeson. That's how it got its name, Gleeson. And that's the original jail here. Looks like they opened it up in 1910. So the Gleeson jail. Yeah, you acted up in Gleeson back in these days. This is where they sent you. All right. Some sort of old structure back behind me. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about this. In its heyday, Gleeson was pumping out like gold and copper, and mostly copper. A lot of copper in these areas, a lot of copper mines. You know, and it lasted a couple decades, to tell you the truth. And you know, the post office, I think, closed down in 1910 because, you know, once the post office goes, that means pretty much all the people have left. And what you have right now is a real bona fide ghost town. And still a few people do live out here. And that's what I'm trying to, you know, be careful about where I poke my head in. I don't want to go onto anybody's property. I actually think this actually may have been the post office from back in the day. I could be wrong. I'll look it up, see what else I can find. But if you know, if you've been here to Gleeson before, let me know what this building was. Leave it in the comments section. So let's see if I can get a better look in here. I'm sure you guys would rather see these structures than my mug on the camera. but you can see it's all completely collapsed. So, you know, I was here probably a few decades ago, maybe back in the late 80s, and I remember this roof being intact, and I remember being out to actually walk inside this building, but you can't do that now. You know, that's what happens over time. You know, these places just fall apart and they become dilapidated. You know, the weather, the elements just knock them down, and vandals too. That's what's a shame. And you know, I would make the point, I was in this town called Gold Point, and I really loved it there. But I guess some of the people who live there, they kind of get a little aggravated about the tourists that come through there and pick these towns apart. And I understand that. You know, not everybody is going to tread lightly as they walk through, or be respectful of the place, and you know, and that's a shame. So, but I mean, these places are great to check out. I mean, and I suggest if you do come out here and you do look at these ghost towns, that leave it the way you found it. You know, that's just my opinion. All right, the outhouse is this way. So if you got to do your business, at least they provide a spot for you. Let's walk. All right. As I was saying, several families do live in the area, and you just got to be careful where you go. Don't want to upset the locals. Check out this vehicle. Check this out. Wow. Now, I have no idea what year or model car this is. I just can't tell from what's left of it. But if you know, like I said, leave some comments. I appreciate the folks that leave comments. Even if I get something wrong, you know, people correct me on things, that's fine. I try to say, hey, you know what, this is Beers and Frontiers, you know, we get things wrong every now and then. We're not the National Geographic Channel, so, but check that out. Look at that. All right, it's having a good time. All right, you having a good time? You know, like I said in previous videos, this is kind of what we do here on the channel, is we take you to places you might not normally go to. Some places that are tucked away. For example, this one, we're about 35 miles from the US-Mexican border, as I previously said. And, you know, interesting enough, we are pretty brave. We saw in the news today that I guess Title 42 is about to expire, maybe today. So we're kind of in an interesting spot. So who knows? Maybe we'll get overrun by migrants coming across the border. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, but for now, let's just enjoy the day out here on Beers and Frontiers, checking out this ghost town. So Annie, you want to go to another ghost town? I think there's another one we found on the map. You want to go? No. Let's go. All right. Okay. All right. So I think we're gonna try to look at our map. So think about out here, the GPS doesn't really work. You don't really get a signal, so you have to resort to the old style maps to kind of find your way around. Thankfully enough, I have enough experience with looking at those maps that I can kind of figure out places. So I don't know. I look at my kids, and you know, they don't really know what a map is. Everything's on their phone. So that is the modern world. What are you gonna do? All right. So we're gonna head on down the road here and see what else we can find. So hang around. You don't want to miss out on anything else. Okay. As you can see here, we've got some homes that probably were built in the early 1900s, maybe even beyond that. And then obviously stuff that did not last the last century, wiped out by the elements. Gleeson, Arizona, I'm liking it. Here we got the original structure. I don't know what this may have been. You can see, well, somebody had a party here. Well, this is Beers and Frontiers, and there's a lot of beer cans down there. So That may be your beer shot for the day, but actually I think we're gonna try to find a saloon later on in the afternoon to go check out. You know, but this ghost town, like many others, you know, once the gold ran out, the copper ran out, so do the people. And they become ghost towns. And they just kind of litter parts of the American Southwest. And I use the word litter loosely because it's not really trash. It's actually wonderful sights to see here. Love it. Gotta watch where I walk. A lot of rattlesnakes around here. Whoa. I thought that... You didn't see him, but that I thought there was a snake. Whatever. All right. Right after a long day of adventurizing, we're gonna end this video with a Arizona beer. We found Scottsdale Blonde from Huss Brewery, and we're gonna give it a try here. You know, we appreciate you coming out and spending your time with us on these adventures. And if you're still watching, it means you're a fan of ours, and we appreciate that. So make sure you give us a like and maybe a comment at the end there of the video. But for now, let me give this a go here. That's pretty solid. Anyway, so there it is. It's Huss Brewing, Scottsdale Blonde. That's all we got for today. Cheers from Beers and Frontiers.